At some point, we've all encountered or come across someone who appears to be much more competent, well articulated, and subsequently better speakers than us. The opinions that come out of their mouth feel very nuanced, thought through, and yet come on the fly without any buffer. I've struggled with this many times in the past, especially during my work calls where I'd brainstorm ideas with my colleagues and they just magically come up with well thought and nuanced thoughts and ideas without taking much time to think. Given that I was an extremely vocal person in my childhood, people that I know are often surprised that for me to make a valuable contribution or give an opinion, I need to sit by myself in silence and sort of mull over the ideas before I can talk about it. But today we live in a fast-paced working environment where you're sort of pushed to the deep end of the pool from day one, and the fate of a project gets decided between an hour of meetings. So ever since my responsibilities at work have increased, being proactive and vocal about ideas and opinions is not only a skill that I've found to be extremely crucial in my work life, but it also serves as a mechanism where we can all go out and talk to each other and bond with people. Because the harsh reality is, it is an extroverted world out there, and even though there have been tons of introverted people who have made valuable contributions to the world, just having that ability to articulate yourself in a nuanced and a poetic manner can sort of take you to rooms and places that you're not supposed to be in. So what does it take to articulate thoughts? Can it be learnt? And is there a framework, a set of rules we can follow to become better speakers? Here are 3 ideas that I've personally followed that have helped me with this. Step number 1, the interest and value chain. The first idea is a little bit subjective, but I think it's a necessary first step. And that is to identify 2 or 3 interlinked topics that you sort of have an interest in and have the opportunity of growth. It's 2021, and even though we have to summarize ourselves in concise and pithy ways on our resumes, we all know that we have way too many interests and passions that are too independent of each other. And so with this abundance of information and interests, self-analyzing and discarding topics that I have a mild interest in but I won't spend my time on becomes a necessary first step. For example, as a marketing strategist, I used to spend most of my time just studying and talking about marketing campaigns. You would have seen some videos on the channel before. And now I've included interlinked topics such as UX and UI design, storytelling, a little bit of marketing analytics, so that I can have stronger opinions in and around this core subject of what I'm interested in. And this has come at the expense of cutting and let go some of the topics that I do have an interest in, like politics, cinema, sport. Because at the end of the day, your brain can only hold a finite amount of information. Step number 2, the origins of an opinion. The strongest opinion originates from 2 places, foundation and time. As Mark Twain famously said, there's no such thing as a new idea. It is impossible. We simply take a lot of old ideas and put them into sort of a mental kaleidoscope. We give them a turn and they make new and curious combinations. But they are the same old pieces of colored glass that have been in use through all the ages. I related with this on a much larger level because I work in the business of ideas and rejections, and there's been times where I've held my opinions too close to my chest because I thought they were unoriginal. But originality is a myth. All of the greatest ideas and opinions originate on top of existing foundations. There's nothing wrong with voicing out an already existing opinion as long as your foundational reference is strong and you add your touch, your personality, and your mark to it. More on this later. I've sort of made a detailed video about this, which you can find here. But the crux of it is that the greatest opinions and thoughts are like seeds, and they need to be constantly watered to grow over time. And while this might not happen over jam sessions over work calls, it can certainly happen for someone chasing a long-term goal. Julian Shapiro, a writer and researcher about creative writing, calls this the creative faucet. The short version of the phenomenon goes something like this. Visualize your creativity as a backed up pipe of water. The first pile of piping is packed with wastewater, but over time, they must be emptied before the clean water starts to come. The same applies to creativity. Don't resist bad ideas. Accept them and dwell on them, and over time, the strong ideas start to come. Step number 3, the IPO. Ronak Mangotil, the co-founder of Fully Filmy, has a great video about this, which you can check out here. If you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, then why are you even watching this? Please just go and check his channel out first. But according to him, the 3 stages of forming an opinion form under the formula IPO. Input, perspective, output. The content economy is here. And that means that the supply of content is more than the demand, the retention of information becomes extremely low, and only a fraction of what you take in comes out as an opinion. And therefore, it becomes extremely important to diversify your input sources. You can do that by exploring all sides of a story, be it left, right, center, up, down, diagonal, whatever, so that you can have different variables of an equation to form your opinions. Taking in can take place through multiple forms. The most efficient forms that I've found is to take in through podcasts, and the latest podcast obsession has been fitness podcasts, just to know how to get rid of cramps after working out without proper warm-ups. Of course, you always have your books, but the fastest way I've found to take in is to Twitter. Now, granted that sometimes Twitter gets toxic and there are a lot of people that you want to stay away from, but for the most part, it is a sane platform, and if you can follow the right people, it can just be an amazing experience. If you don't know where to start on Twitter, I can link some handles below that you can follow right away and you can kickstart your journey. Now, this is the point where you take your inputs and you find your voice, which has always been sort of like a generic statement to me, but I feel like I'm starting to realize this a little bit now. You see, each opinion you give out is a representation of who you are as a person, and hence packaging it to the outside world in your most authentic form becomes an absolute crucial necessity. Now, what I mean by this is some people, when they give out opinions, they have to go all guns blazing and they just have to be the center of the room and the center of the attention. Like this fellow here, a friend of mine who will go as far as to hit people just for some attention. What an attention whore. Some people like to articulate it from a place of self-deprecation and vulnerability, and I certainly see myself in this category where I'll certainly go, hey, I'm dumb, I don't know anything, I'm not much well versed in this, but here's my opinion on this, and hopefully go on to make some valuable contributions. Some people, like comedians, just mostly joke around, but yet circle and package a nuanced perspective in their stand-up routines. And some people like it straight, without the fluff. And so an internal self-study of who you are as a person, what is your tone of voice, what is your tonality, becomes a necessity so that your opinions make the most authentic impact. A reference of how this works comes from a Friends documentary I saw recently of how Matthew Perry, aka Chandler, twists a dialogue. While his initial delivery seemed unfunny, his slight tweak of the same line changed the entire dynamic of how the line came out.
Let's get married, I guess.
Wait a minute. On your let's just get married, I guess, can it be even more forced enthusiasm?
Oh, you don't think it's funny to play that kind of bum switch?
Let's just get married, I guess.
It didn't feel funny. I think the
Let's get married, I guess.
I believe I actually rolled an 8.
That was so unlikely. Well, let's get married, I guess.
The final phase is obviously the output phase, and the only person who can stop you at this point is yourself. And I do get that sometimes there's a shred of doubt of whether whatever you're saying makes a valuable contribution. But every time I have that phase, I get reminded of this article from Derek Sivers, who says, what's obvious to you can be amazing to others. And even if you do bomb, who cares? I mean, you can absolutely feel proud that you put your hat into the ring. And even though it didn't bear any fruit today, you certainly sowed the seeds for a better tomorrow. I'll catch you guys in the next one.